Hi friends, it's Taylor. Welcome back to my channel where I share my financial journey to debt freedom and financial independence. If that's something you're interested in, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to stay connected. Today we're doing my budget closeout for March. I forgot to post a video for February's closeout, but you'll be able to see my most up-to-date numbers in this video. So we're here in Monarch Money as usual, and we're going to head over to the accounts tab and review all of my accounts. Today is April 2nd as I'm filming this, so we're just a few days past March's numbers, so they're pretty accurate. And for these two rippling accounts here, these are the accounts from my pre-tax benefits, and I manage those manually, and I updated these yesterday, so these are completely up to date. For my investments, slowly getting a little bit of growth there, so we are past the $3,000 mark. Super excited about that. And then for my loans, my student loan payments are on pause, so I'm going to leave these alone for now as I focus on my savings. And then for my other liabilities, I don't have anything going on here. So while we're here on the accounts page, I do have a couple of housekeeping tasks that I want to do. So the first thing is I want to group all of my debts into one category. It's just bothering me having like this other section that says other liabilities, and I want to put everything in one group. So I'm going to just expand one of these accounts, go to edit account, and see the subtypes that we have for debts. Commercial, consumer. Let me see. So I think I want to put all of my other liabilities into this loans group. So I'm going to make this subtype business and save. And you can see here on the accounts page, it moved it here to the loan section. So I'm just going to do this for the other three accounts. Okay, I've updated all of my debt accounts, and now everything is in this loans group. And wow, I have 13 different debts that I have paid off so far. See, it's crazy to see everything when it's all in one group. So I'm happy I made that decision. It's also going to be helpful when I'm doing my financial tracking in Google Sheets to have all of my debts in one place in Monarch too. The next thing I want to do is edit my rippling accounts here. So if I go into the transit account, you'll see that I have like different merchants, and then this category is transportation, which technically that's what it is because this is a pre-tax transit benefit. However, when I'm reviewing my transactions in each category, you can see that the rippling transactions show up even though it's hidden. And having the transactions here don't affect my numbers, but it's just a little bit more visual clutter, and I'm trying to get rid of that as much as possible. So I'm just going to switch around the merchant names and the categories so that these hidden transactions don't even show up in the list when I'm looking at the categories. And the easiest way for me to do this is to go to the transactions tab, and we're going to set some filters. And the first thing I'm going to do is just change the merchants for both of these rippling accounts. So you see how like some of them say Smart Trip, I have Amazon. I don't want all of that confusion. I'm just going to make all of them have the merchant be rippling. And click save. Okay, great. And then I forgot to do this while I was there, selecting all the transactions again. And instead of everything being in like different categories here, I'm going to make the category be balance adjustments, because that's exactly what it is. I'm making manual adjustments to the account balance in Monarch Money. And then we'll click save. Awesome. And now when I go back to the accounts page and then go to transit, for example, all of these have the same merchant name and the same category. And now I don't have to worry about these transactions popping up in other areas in Monarch because I really don't need to see them. And lastly, to close out everything in this account section, we're going to review my net worth numbers for March. So by the end of March, I had $3,464.67 in cash, and that's between my checking, savings, and my pre-tax benefits. And then for investments, I had $3,057.05 in my 401k. And lastly, for my student loans, which is my only remaining debt now, I have the same number, $14,471.82, bringing my net worth to negative $7,950.10, which was an increase of $177.79 from the previous month in February. It is crazy to see how close I am getting to a positive net worth. I really think I can do it before the end of the year. Our next step is to go to the recurring tab, and we're going to go back to March and switch to the calendar view and just make sure that we have green check marks next to everything. The only flag here is TaxSlayer. It was $33.85 more than the $125 I expected to pay, but that's still not too big of a jump. So I'm still going to consider all of these transactions as good on my recurring calendar. And now we're going to head into my budget and go back a month again to March. I just want to expand all of my categories and we're good to go. So starting with my paychecks, that was as expected at $3,346. I earned $3 in interest from my high yield savings accounts, and I also received $188 in reimbursements. $16.77 of that came from Koda's pet insurance company. I had canceled the supplemental wellness plan and ended up getting a refund. And then I got some reimbursements from my job. It is normally not this much. It's probably like $15, $20 a month, but they were a little bit delayed in processing everybody's reimbursements. So it kind of came as a lump sum in March. And then for my bank rollovers, this is the money that is left in my bank accounts before the next month comes. I had $1,530 in my bills account and $682 in my spending account. And we're going to close up income and go on to my expenses, starting with the needs group. So starting with my rent, this was $13.85 this month, which was lower than expected. As you all can see through the chart at the top, it looks like I have very inconsistent rent, but it's not actually the case. My rent is the same at $13.92 each month, plus the $56 a month that I pay for the security deposit. But the reason that there's a lot of fluctuations on this graph is because I sometimes get overcharged for things and sometimes I get credits. For March specifically, they had the square footage for my unit wrong, so I was getting overcharged for my water and sewer bill. And once we figured that out, we were able to get it resolved, and then they gave me a credit in my account, so I just applied that towards my rent. And then my water sewer was around the normal number that I should expect, which is $61. My gas, internet, and insurances were $150. And you'll actually see down here in my unbudgeted that I was not charged for electric this month because through my electric bill, I had another credit. And so that covered my electric bill for this month and I didn't have to pay out of pocket. For groceries, I usually budget $360 a month, but I only spent $321. Household was normal at $70. Pet supplies was a little bit higher than usual, and that is mainly because I got a litter genie. I wish I knew about this before, but that does a great job at keeping Koda's litter from smelling so bad. I also got a travel litter box because I took him to see family and I needed to make sure he had something there. And I also had to restock on his food. So it was a little bit more of an expensive month in terms of pet care. Laundry was $30. I noticed a trend of not needing $50 every month, so just decided to lower my budget to adjust. And then for transportation, I spent $68. I'm actually thinking about moving this to the safety net category because all of these transportation expenses were unplanned. I had to make a couple of work trips this month, more than usual, so I had to pay out of pocket. And I'm not able to get reimbursed for these because I already used up all of my pre-tax benefits for my work travel, so that sucked. And then for my taxes, I spent $158 for TaxSlayer, which is the software I use to actually do my taxes. And then on top of that, I paid the $110 to the IRS for my federal taxes owed. Moving on to the wants group, I am starting to contribute to tithes again, so that will be a new expense going forward. I'm excited to get back into that and support the church that's really been helping me. Therapy was $50 this month because I only had one session. My subscriptions have gone up to $51 now because Netflix is up, and I also got Descript again, which is what I use to edit my YouTube videos and make sure that I have captions so everything's accessible. For wellness, I spent $113. I got some workout supplies and also some skincare things. For appearance, I got some makeup and hair stuff. And then for the home category, I was able to find a 50-inch TV on Amazon that was on sale for $240. And I also got a rolling TV stand to go with it so that I could move my TV around anywhere in the apartment that I want to. And I'm super happy with that decision. It's been so convenient to watch TV at any angle and anywhere that I want in the house. I also got a 3-year warranty for the TV, and that was $27.99. And then I wanted to organize my kitchen a little bit, so I got some spice jars and labels, and that was $23.84. And lastly, for restaurants, I spent $77, which is about $50 more than I usually spend on eating out per month. But March was a very stressful month for me, especially at work, so I'm not surprised that I spent more on eating out. But I don't think I got too out of control. We're going to skip my bank rollovers for now and go to other. So you'll see that I spent over $300 of unplanned expenses. That is because I decided to get a dietitian through that online company Nourish, and it was a complete waste of time. I only signed up because I was under the impression that I would not be paying out of pocket. But after they submitted everything to my insurance bounced it back to me. So not only did I have to pay $300 for the dietitian out of pocket, but I also don't feel like the session was helpful at all. So it really was a waste of money, and I would not recommend going through Nourish. And then I also spent $16.79 because I had to buy some envelopes and stamps for our office. And I am getting reimbursed for this at least, but I wasn't expected to be asked to pay for that. So had to put that here in this category. And lastly, for my savings goals, I put $251 to my emergency fund. And then for my credit card, I was able to fully fund this with the $200 that I needed. And then the vet visit and gifts sinking funds were just automatically recurring. So that was $90 and $25 respectively. And I did have to withdraw $200, I think at the beginning of the month when I realized I was going to have to pay for that dietitian. So after I zeroed out all of my categories, I went and compared my leftover numbers in my bank account, and these numbers were in fact accurate. So at the end of March, I had $1,547 in my bills account, and that is because rent is due on the 1st, so I have to have the money in the account like the last day prior. And then for my spending account, I had $222. And then if we go ahead to April, you'll see that I put those exact numbers here in the April rollover categories because that's exactly what happened. It was money that was left over in March, and then I'm moving it forward to April. Now that the budget is closed out, we're going to head over to the reports tab. And I've already set my filters here to last month, so I think we're good. We can see that I did spend slightly more than I earned. Again, the rollovers kind of make it a little funky, but I did not have a savings rate at all, which is hilarious because I said in January my savings rate would go up over February and March, and that was not the case. My accounts are not in the negative, and my net worth is still going up. My savings balances are still going up, but it just ended up being a weird month in March because of taxes and the dietitian and all of that stuff. So moving on to the ratios, I spent 70% on needs, which is right on the money. Wants was 22%. And for my other unexpected expenses, that was almost 10% of my money, $300. which sucks, but I'm grateful that I had the money to fund those unexpected expenses instead of going into further debt. And while we're here in reports, I also want to go over my graphs for income and spending. So starting with income, we can see the distribution of my paychecks and reimbursements. So the total money that I earned this month was $3,537.58. And then for my spending, we can see the breakdown here, and I'm just going to expand to show all categories. So rent was my highest spending category. And then after that is home, which is the TV and the stand, my groceries, the unexpected expenses, taxes, and then everything else basically. And the last thing we're going to do in Monarch is revisit my goals. So as you can see, these are all of my current account balances in relation to my actual savings goals. And I do want to make a couple of changes here. The first thing I want to do is close out this credit card goal. You can see in March I did fully fund it, and then I withdrew it here in the beginning of April in order to get the credit card. So I'm gonna come to the top right corner and mark as complete, which I think is a fairly new feature because I'm pretty sure that before you could only archive goals. So let's see what happens when we mark as complete. Okay, so it fills in the bar, and then does it go away on the goals page? It actually stays here but just says completed. I don't like the visual clutter of it, even though it's nice to see that that goal is met. Considering that this was like a one-time purchase, I am just going to archive the goal. Yep, that's fine. Okay, and then go back to goals, and now it's gone, and we can see it down here, so that's great. And I understand that it disconnected the savings accounts from the actual goal, but we still had the transactions tied to it. So this isn't actually affecting my contribution history, which is great. And the next and last thing that I want to do here is close out this quick cash goal. And I'm actually going to close out the actual account in my bank as well. The reason is I think it's too redundant to have two different emergency funds between my emergency fund and the quick cash. And I am thankfully in a place where I could cash flow unexpected expenses of up to $1,000 in a month if I absolutely needed to. And I also have these other non-urgent savings accounts that I could pull from if I was really in a crunch. I'm going to think about what I want to do with this $131 specifically. But regardless, I do plan to close out this account. So I am just going to archive the goal for now, just in case I change my mind. I still want to have that history there. And now this is what the goals page is looking like. All right, we are here in Google Sheets for the final part of my budget closeout. As a reminder, this is where I input my numbers at the end of each month to see what my projections are for the future. So starting with my cash, we're going to input the same number from Monarch, which was $3,464.67. And we see the chart increased a little bit there, which was almost $1,000 higher than the projected. So that's great. And then for investments, this was $3,057.05, which was actually a little bit lower than expected. So the graph did go down, but that's still okay. And then for my debts, this is the same number, $14,471.82. So no change. And then for my net worth, I'm just going to drag down this formula because this just takes my cash and investments and subtracts my debts. So let's see. And that does match up with what Monarch is saying. Negative $7,950.10 for my net worth. And if you look down towards the bottom of the chart, it is saying that I will be just under a positive net worth by the end of the year. But like I said before, I really think I can get even lower than that because look at this progress of my net worth. It's going under like 1,000 each month. So we'll see what I can do. I'm definitely super excited. All right, everyone, that is it for my budget closeout for March. As a heads up, I'm going to start posting weekly Transfer Tuesdays on TikTok, so be sure to follow me over there if you want to see how I make those money moves before the month actually ends. I also offer one-on-one trainings on Monarch Money if you need some help setting up your account or really maximizing all of its features. So I will leave a link down below if you want to get connected there. And lastly, if you want to make some personal finance forecasts like I've been doing in Google Sheets, I will leave a template to the link below in my coffee shop where you can support me by buying a template or buying me a coffee. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.